Hello and welcome into the Knicks-Verse. And today we have a very special first-time guest on Into the Knicks-Verse, Stephen Fox, as we call him, Foxy. Welcome, brother.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here. It's been way long overdue, but salute to you, salute to the chat, salute to the Into the Knicks-Verse family, and salute to the SV Nation. That's a lot of salutes.
That's a lot of salutes, man. It's a lot of salutes. And welcome to everybody in the chat. Thank you for stopping in. All right, well, let's get this thing rolling. I mean, Quis is going to be joining us in a little bit. Hopefully, he'll be on soon.
Beautiful.
Let's see. Actually, let me just text him, tell him we live. For all we know, he's getting his stuff ready. All right, well, Foxy, how about we talk a little bit about last night's game for a little bit while we're waiting for Quis before we preview tonight's game against the Atlanta Hawks.
Cool.
How did you feel about it in general?
Well, I'm glad I didn't have a Glock around, but it was really, really depressing. It was a bizarre game. It was in a lot of different ways that obviously for the Knicks to shoot 37% field goal percentage, 30% from three, only have 13 assists in the game is not a good thing at all. It's hard to win, but the weird things, the anomalies of the game was that we won second chance points 21-4. We out rebounded them 51-35, and they had one offensive rebound in the whole game. And yet, you know, a lot of times if you win the rebounding wars, and Tibbs is always talking about these things, so it was a strange game, but yeah, and it was also aggravating after the game. How many times is Tibbs going to talk about the energy of the team? You should only have to talk about that once, and if not, put a shot across the bow of those players that you feel that are not bringing the proper energy, especially at home. I said to you off the air that that's such an alien thing to me, that in general, but especially at home in front of your fans. So it was a good game in the sense that we saw what ball movement should be on a team. Their ball movement was beautiful on Phoenix. Beautiful. It was just gorgeous, unselfish, moving that ball around. It was everything that Tibbs talked about. It's not a good shot. You go for the best shot, and they move that ball around. So it's something for us to stride. And with tonight's game, with both D-Rose and Kemba out, I hope our boy Deuce gets more than 4 minutes and change to play tonight.
Man, you never know with Tibbs. That's the thing. I mean, logic would dictate you're going to play Deuce a lot tonight, but you never know because he has Burks, he has NIQ. We still don't know who's going to start.
I love IQ, but I just don't want Burks at the point guard position.
Absolutely. Actually, let's go to here we go. So Kemba is out tonight. D Rose out. No Taj. And I believe Nerlens is also out, even though ESPN hasn't listed as day-to-day. So we're missing 4 key players of our rotation tonight. So it looks like Deuce should get and really, I mean, remember we talked about Miles McBride a lot in the summer when I was scouting him. He was a Trae Young stopper, or can slow him down. That was the whole point of trying to draft him. So now it seems like all the forces of the basketball universe have conspired to rest both of our point guards. And now it looks like Deuce is going to get a chance to prove whether he can actually slow Trae Young down or not. So let's see. Oh, Quis has joined us.
Yeah.
Bring him on in.
My guy Quis. Yay!
Hey, what's going on, everybody? How you guys doing? Just walked in from work, ready to chop it up with you guys and enjoy this game. Hopefully, we come out with a W.
Oh, good to see you, my friend.
It would be nice.
I hope you guys had good turkey days.
We did.
Well. Salute to you guys. Hope you had a good turkey day.
Yeah, although I had beef ribs. I'm tired. I'm slow and low and slow. I love my beef ribs, and I'm tired of that turkey crap.
I had pernil. I didn't even have a turkey.
I had turkey. Is delicious. But you know what? A lot of people are not having turkey at Thanksgiving anymore.
Yeah,
they're changing it up. Well, Quis, we started off by kind of doing your own little take or whatever on what last night's game was like, because I dropped my whole post game thing, but you guys didn't have a post game. So if you want to share any thoughts that you had about last night's game, now is the time.
The last night was rough to watch. I know the Suns were coming in a hot team, but you didn't want to see us lose in that fashion. You would understand if we went out there and lost a hard-fought game, but for us to get blown out like that, I think was extremely disheartening. We didn't get much from Julius Randle, who's supposed to be the engine of this team, especially when we didn't have a Derrick Rose that has been, the most consistent player. We really needed Julius Randle to step up. He wasn't able to do that. RJ Barrett, he was tough to watch last night, seeing him going up against, Devin Booker. I know you mentioned in your recap some of his defensive issues was more so him having to help when, Kimba or Fournier got beat. But still, I think there were some things offensively we would have liked to see him kind of do better. You mentioned in your recap, no assists. He didn't have that many rebounds. I think he had, 3? Was
3.
Yeah, 3. He was 3 of 10 from the field, and I think this is an important year for RJ. So in a matchup like that, going up against the Devin Booker, I would have liked to see him be a difference maker on one side of the court, and he was a non-factor, I think, on both ends that night. So for him, I would like to see him come back in this game tonight and really show us something. Like I said, it's an important year for him. It's an important year for us because we have to make a decision whether or not we're going to give him the bag and make him a long-term option for this team. But the positives, though, we saw Quick out there balling. Quick was given some point guard opportunities, and I liked some of what I saw. There are some things like, I had some issues with. George, we talked about it behind the scenes, him getting in the air in order to look for a pass. He can find himself in trouble when he does that at times, but we've seen him finally knock down his shot. He was able to penetrate defenses, even though a lot of times it was off pick and rolls, but there were a few times where he was able to create for himself off the dribble without needing a pick. So those are some things that I think were positive. Also, we saw the young guys, and I really like what I saw from the young guys. I know, George, we talked about it. You mentioned you thought that he brought in Knox because it was about that time for us to wave the white flag and be prepared for this Hawks game. But I kind of saw it as a little wrinkle. We had Obi, who really wasn't knocking down his shot. So I think Tibbs kind of put Knox in there just to see what could happen if you had a player in there that we know can be deadly from 3 and see how that worked. It really didn't change things too much, but there was a lot of energy with that lineup. And then we saw McBride, we saw Grimes come in. I think that was a nice precursor for this game. I think when I came on, you guys were mentioning Derrick Rose, Kemba Walker won't be available for this game. So I think this is the perfect opportunity. We're going to lose a lot of what those guys give us offensively, but now this team can take a real big step defensively against a team where we have Trae Young, who has been a nuisance for us out there on the perimeter. So I think it'll be exciting to see what Tibbs decides to do, seeing that he can, put McBride out there, Grimes out there, and get quality minutes. Because you mentioned it when we were talking, the starters were still in the game when those guys came in. It's not like they were going up against the bench for a lot of those minutes. They were going up against Chris Paul, going up against Devin Booker, and they were playing them tough. So I think I hope that gives Tibbs a little bit more confidence to put those guys in, because you hear the talk about he relies on veterans because veterans, you can trust them, they can give you consistency, but we haven't gotten any consistent play from a lot of our veterans. So I think it's time now for him to kind of look towards that bench and see if we can get these guys involved a little bit more. There's other teams in the playoff pictures that are doing it. The Bulls have been doing it. The Warriors have been doing it.
Yeah, they have a 13-man rotation and stuff.
Exactly. So I don't see why we can't do that. I hope I didn't take the mic up for too long.
No.
Bravo.
I'm appreciating it. Having done 2 solo pre-games in a row.
And I've been out the picture for a few days, so I had a few things to get off my chest. I apologize.
But that was poetry, my friend.
Chat. Thanks for showing up. Big Task, always here for us. Appreciate that, brother. And Tom Herrera, welcome. Still Dre. Let's see who else is here. NYBSMM5, welcome. John Beckton, D Nice, Pedro Zapitas. D Nice is in. Pedro Zapitas, yes, and Cameron Goldberg. All right, thank you. I really appreciate you guys joining us. And any questions you guys have, just drop them in the chat. We'll get to them. One of the things I wanted to touch upon, just to stay on last night's game before we move into the pregame for this Atlanta game, which is a huge game. The thing, I rewatched part of the game, And because I was concerned about RJ's defense and Booker. You know what? I mean, Booker was there were times where RJ just played absolutely perfect defense on him.
Absolutely,
And
yeah. He would have scored on anyone last night.
Yeah, exactly. It was just Devin Booker came into the Garden with that same mentality that we've been talking about, where guys want to come and make their name on the Garden floor. You know, if the game was closer, he might have gotten 50. You know, he would have been left in there. So RJ played some good defense. Unfortunately, on the other end, he wasn't responding. No one responded on the offensive end. That's the thing that annoyed me. You know, yeah. So we're facing the hottest team in the NBA. And then on top of that, one of the best shooters in the NBA is just hitting everything. Where's our response on the offensive end? You know, where's Randall in that? Fournier started off blazing hot, 3 for 3, and then went 1 for, I believe, 11 or something like that. 1 for 12 afterwards. So it's like we had no response offensively, except for IQ. But, you know, IQ came in. Once IQ came into the game, it felt like the Suns had kind of figured a few things out and started making our lives really difficult. So we need Julius Randle and RJ Barrett to respond. And I have a bunch of stats that I pulled comparing last season's first 19 games to this season's first 19 games. I wasn't able to pull it up together as a graphic, but we'll talk through it. And that's one of the things that I want to focus on, because it feels like we're focusing a lot on the new starters, Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier. And I have absolutely. I've already called for a swap of the backcourts, you know, when everyone's healthy. But the reality is our two big guys are not pulling their weight. That's the real distressing part of it all. In fact, last season by this point, RJ and Julius were combining for 39.9 points per game, almost 40 points a game, the two of them. And that Julius was averaging 22.5 points per game. So lower his average, he ended up with like almost 24. I think he ended up with 24 and a half. So, you know, he didn't start off that hot in the beginning of the season, but, you know, they were combining for 20 points per game. Now they're combining for 34.3 points per game. RJ was at 17.4 points per game last season at this time. Now he's at 14 and a half. That's a big drop off, almost 3 points right there. And the same for Julius. And then when you go down the line, you look at their mid-range game stats, they're just not hitting from the mid-range, and their 3-point stats are just not there. I mean, RJ at this point last season was only averaging 28% from behind the arc. This year he's at 32%. You know, it's 4% better, but overall, his overall field goal was at 42.1% last year by the 19th game. This year he's only at 38.8%. So that means it's everything else. It's not just the 3-point shot that's not hitting. It's his mid-range game. He's not finishing at the rim the way he should. He averaged for the whole season 44.1%. So he's almost 5 percentage points down from last season overall. And from the 3-point line, he averaged 40.1%. So the kid is struggling offensively. And I would like to hear, we'll start with Foxy. What is your feeling, Foxy, about what is it that, because here's the thing. The argument that, oh, well, he's just not athletic. He's not going to be that guy. Okay, fine. But why isn't he the same guy he was last season? That's what I want to know. It's one thing that we all wanted him to level up and be 20, 21 points per game. But okay, but why isn't he at least replicating what he did last season?
I think it's the issues from the neck up. I don't think he's right. I don't know from a physicality standpoint what would be the difference between this year and last year. So I think it's just his energy level, his attitude. I don't know if playing D or whatever, but it's really, I'm incredibly disappointed because by the first year, you're saying they're getting, you know, Quis and I spoke about this last week, that you're going to be consistent. Your second year, a little less than consistent. Third year, should be very, be consistent, no more inconsistent. And seeing this, he's only getting to the line about 3 times a game. And you made a great point. I looked at some stats today. Robinson doesn't, because of the amount of games he's played or a lack of games he's played. We're 25th in the league from 2-point percentage, field goal percentage. We don't have a player in the top 100 in field goal percentage from 2. And last year, Randall 8 from the mid range, which is it's a key thing. And people are like, well, it's a 3-point league now. And it's like, yo, do some math. 87 shots a game, let's say. And if you're putting up, 40, let's round it off 40, you're still putting up more 2s than you're putting up 3s. 2s are very important. And we're just not hitting 2s, and Elfrid Payton.
RJ, just so you know, RJ's averaging from 3 feet to 16 feet, 23.8%.
It's brutal. It's brutal, and it's funny. I was trying to be nice, but this week they said that he filed for 2 trademarks this week, his logo and something else. And I was about to say he should file for a 3rd trademark, missing bunnies, because that's becoming a trademark for him, missing bunnies. That I thought finishing last year was one of the key things he was going to work on. But, a lot of people have said it, and, I always go, you and I love our stats, but we do the eye test. He looks slow. I don't mean anything. He just looks heavy-legged out there. And I'm like, God, he had a few days rest. When is... and it's just the opposite. I'm saying on Quickly that I don't know if it's the weightlifting or whatever. He looks like he has more burst this year off the dribble than he did last year. So I'm like, God, I'm so happy to see the development in this kid. But I'm saying at the same time, RJ, I believe in you, man. But you look like you're regressing. I'm looking for development. And I know playing D and like you said, against Booker and stuff. But you know how you do that? Score some points to negate what he's lighting you up on. So I wish there was an answer for him. But I will say there's one thing that I noticed watching the game yesterday versus us, that they set proper screens. When Taj Gibson does not play, folks, we don't get a proper. We don't set proper screens, and whether it's RJ or Fournier or any of the other guys, and Randall too. Great point. So. These little things, it's about technique. And come on, guys, put your body in it. Get physical. That's what's bothering me. It's show some physicality. And I know, folks, it was one play with Deuce on CP. But, folks, Kemba's not doing it game after game. He's not doing it on offense. And, we talked about, folks, we don't have the Charlotte Kemba. This is a different guy that we have from the Charlotte Kemba. Folks, first quarter Kemba is different than fourth quarter Kemba. We're finding out too. So it's not only we don't have the Charlotte Kemba,
Actually,
but
I want third quarter Kemba now.
Yeah, he's exhausted. This guy. Did you see? It was like
no, he's been doing it on third quarter.
I know, but fourth quarter is where the crunch time. So I wish I had an answer, but I think part of it comes from the heart. I want to see, I'm really disappointed in RJ. Is he going to turn it around? Yes. But I thought he was on the cusp of showing stars. But you know what? We saw stardom last night, but unfortunately the name was Booker and not RJ.
Mm-hmm. Right. And Quis, so what's your feelings about what's going on with RJ?
Well, it could be a few things. One could be the fact that RJ now is being tasked with picking up the best perimeter threat game in and game out. And heading into this season, I said that could be something that takes away from his game offensively. Now, I didn't expect him to be as bad as he has been on the offensive side of the ball the past few games. But, it is something that we should look at. He's going up against a player like Devin Booker, and he's also forced to help out against, players attacking Kemba, players attacking Evan Fournier. There's a lot. This team is scrambling a lot more on defense than we did last season. So if you look at the amount of effort RJ has to put out there defensively, and then, I'm not saying it's an excuse, because it's time again.
Everything is a factor.
It's real.
So
I'm not saying it's an excuse and it warrants the bad play. It's just I wasn't expecting RJ to take that 20 points per game step, because I knew having to be that defender was going to take something from him in terms of his energy and the ability to penetrate, finish at the rim, play through
Well, you and I
contact.
talked about this. You were like, hey, if he could replicate, if he could still get the 17.4 a little bit better, considering who else has joined this first unit, you know, and there's not that many shots to go around, you would be happy with that. But he's not even doing that.
But he teased our emotions. Yeah. He had 5 games of 20 points where he showed 3-level scoring.
Foxy's getting emo now.
Yeah.
He was pinching my nipples. I was getting all excited.
Oh, you had me at nipples. Oh, I love hanging.
All right. Yeah, I think it could be the defensive the demands of the defensive end really taking RJ down a notch. It could be that. Not going to put it all on that, but because you still have to, you should still figure it out. But that could be one issue. I'm gonna look. There was a couple of. Here we go. This is an interesting. Since we're still on the RJ topic here, Cameron Goldberg says, "How did RJ average like 22 points in college, and he is this bad so far? Crazy." This is actually a very good comment.
I mentioned it yesterday to you, George.
Yeah.
You know, RJ came out of college as a scorer, as a slasher, and we're here talking about, can he be an elite defender and catch and shoot, you know, corner 3 specialist. Well, I want to see more attacking the basket and finishing. That's what we thought he was going to be coming out of college.
That's it.
See, that's all, folks.
The ball for RJ's, I mean, I don't know. I mean, let's go back to high school. The ball has been in RJ's hands all the time. And he's been the alpha. And he has figured, he's the one who, he is in charge of initiating the offense on every team he has been on until now. And now this year, he's even not been pushed down the rung a little bit further, because there's Kemba and Fournier who both need the ball in their hands. So, and also another thing that I've noticed, they used to start every game off with a nice high pick and roll with RJ and Mitch. And we haven't seen that. How many? I feel like we haven't seen that in like
ages.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
He's not and partly that might be because Thibs and company are like, okay, well, all right, you know, Fournier and Kemba are struggling to get their shot off. So maybe let's shift the focus in the beginning of the game to try and get these guys off to a good start. And then that kind of what happens? It takes the ball out of RJ's hands. He needs to have touches. He needs to be able to slide, like get to the hoop and create that way. Set some nice picks, some good screens that he can take advantage of. Have some movement around so that he can find the guy. Run the offense through him for a certain percentage of the time. But at this point, I feel like it rarely happens at all now. He's just someone who needs the ball in his hands, I think, to be effective. Now, that being said, he should still not be this bad right now. You know, it's fine to say, okay, yeah, for him to be a 20-plus point a game scorer, he needs the ball in his hands. Okay, all right, fine. But you didn't have the ball in your hands that much last year either, and you averaged, 17 and a half. So you still should figure it out. That's one thing that's really been stressing. I mean, a lot of people are stressed out about this right now. Now, here's something. Now we know, Jimmy Butler in his 3rd year basically was giving us similar stats to what RJ is giving us now. Same thing with DeMar DeRozan. Similar. Now they're both guys. All 3 of these guys have a similar type of game, though RJ's a better 3-point shooter than both those guys ever have been. I mean, he already has proven that to be. So I'm not losing hope at all. I think a lot of it is good. A lot of it is just there's a lot of demands right now. Kemba, he needs the ball, and he's small, and he has a tremendous liability in defensive end. Fournier, he needs to have screens set for him sometimes as well. And he needs to have that two-man, he needs to work on that two-man game with Randall. But it'd be nice to see him have a two-man game with RJ as well. But we don't see that because they're trying so hard to get everybody cooking that it's RJ's the one that's suffering in the starting unit. So
that's a brilliant point. That's a great point, because when you see Randall and Fournier a lot of times doing, the rest of the team is standing by themselves.
Yeah.
There's no movement, and those guys are doing, playing catch and pass between them. But everybody's else, I guess they're gonna either Randall or Fournier is gonna be shooting on this possession. We're getting closed out, rather than looking for another option. So that caught me. I don't mind them, and we've talked on that, them building synergy together. But you can't do it at the expense of closing out the rest of the team on possessions. You have to keep your eyes open and see who has good shots and stuff like that. It's like, all right, let's just stand still. That's it.
Absolutely.
And we have no fallback option offensively either. It's, if Julius Randle, if whatever he's doing doesn't work, like you said, Foxy, everybody's standing around. So if he has to make an adjustment and find the open player, nobody's really in position to make a play. Nobody's in position to really attack the defense while they're scrambling. And I think that's been a big issue when you look at, sometimes Julius Randle dominating the ball, because it's something that is really just isolated to the starters. You don't really see that same thing with the bench. So you just got to figure out, why do the starters play that way? Because when RJ's out there with the second unit, he's not playing like that. When Julius Randle is with the second unit, a lot of times he's not really the same Julius Randle we see with the starters. There's a little bit more ball movement there. So I just want to know why. Yes, I just want to know why it's isolated to just the starters. And then when you just start breaking everything down, you have to look what's new, who's the new additions, and that's going to be Kemba and Fournier. So you have to see which one of those two is the issue. Even if it's both of them being the issues, then you have to make adjustments. And I think this team is deep enough to make those adjustments until December 15th. We got to make a move then.
Yes, and the ball movement is a great topic to touch upon. Just to focus on RJ and Randall in terms of their ball movement, their contribution to ball movement. Last year, RJ averaged 3.4 assists per game in the first 19 games. 3.4. This year, he's down to 2.3. That's a lot. He's lost about 30. He's lost 33% of his assist contribution. Randall last season was at 6. He averaged 6 a game by this time, and now he's at 5.1. So he's also averaging 1 less assist. So that's between these two guys. That is 2 less assists per game. That adds up. That means for 1 assist. Often if the ball moves around a couple times, there's not even any hockey assists going because the ball doesn't touch enough hands. So there's very lack of creativity, which results in no easy buckets for this first unit,
and doesn't get to the line.
Yep.
And then doesn't get to the line.
And that's when we start relying on transition, which we don't get enough of because we're not getting stops on defense to push the pace going the opposite way. It's a chain reaction to all these issues.
Exactly. Yeah, it is a chain reaction. It really is. Let's see. RJ, he was averaging 15.4 field goal attempts per game last year. He's down to 13.6. So there you go. That's what we were just talking about. He's not getting enough touches, even in an off. And we knew that was going to happen. With Fournier and Kemba on the floor with him, we knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, but look at Randall last night. 8 shot attempts. That's not cool.
No, he passed up on some stuff, but maybe he wasn't feeling it.
That, or it's like, let me show them. All right, I won't shoot. Let's see how far you'll go without me shooting, man.
Hey, Crowder was took him out of his game in the beginning, in the first half.
Yeah, I know.
The Suns as a team, the blueprint is out on how to defend Julius Randle.
Well, not only Julius Randle. Last night, it was funny. One of the notes I wrote was CP3 wrote, just watching CP3, he just took Kemba right into the screen every time. And once you take him to the screen, the play's over. Really, with Kemba now, you could just blow past him. You don't even need a screen to blow past him. But he just showed, like you just said, here's the plan to just deal with Kemba. You just drive him right into a screen, and it's over with.
Yeah.
And Mikal Bridges, that's the thing that impacts me with RJ is that RJ, with all his development and everything, when we talked about his lack of burst and everything, elite defenders can shut down RJ and or really impact his offensive game. And that, what we saw yesterday, what we're looking for is a player that nobody can shut you down. Even with great defense, like a Booker, nobody could shut you down, but RJ can be shut down. And you heard one of the other games, was it Clyde or whomever, is like they're taking away his right hand, and Clyde's been yelling about this for the opposition for the last several years. Like, why don't they just know he's going to go left every time? Why do they let him do that? Well, they're not letting him do it. They're making him comfortable. They're not letting him get to his spots, and it's not, the results are not pretty.
Yeah, well, even with all that being said, he's still getting to the bucket. He's missing.
But Elfrid Payton got to the bucket too.
Yeah, but Elfrid Payton wasn't a number 3 draft pick.
Word.
I mean, this is,
But neither was Jimmy Butler and DeRozan.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But the thing is, I mean, you're saying they're taking something away from him. They're not. He's achieving his goal. He's not completing it, and that's him. That's not the defender.
Yeah.
In fact,
those bunnies are him. I don't
remember a defender actually stopping RJ necessarily, other than when they double team him and he gets blocked from behind, which happens to everybody in the NBA. But
I don't know. Hayward stopped him.
I was about to say
that was brutal. That was brutal.
He got his shot blocked 86 times last year, and he's on a pace to be 90 plus. So they're blocking his shots. They're recovering. He does not like length.
Shot blocked. Kawhi Leonard gets his shot blocked. Jimmy Butler gets his shot blocked.
I know.
What I'm trying to say is that he gets to the rim. He's not completing because he's not following all the way through, and he's just off. I mean, that's why when he was averaging 26.3 points per game that one period, those 4 games, he was finishing at the rim. Now he's like getting there. There's a little finger roll. There's no defend. I mean, he's already beaten the defenders, and then he shorts it, front rims it.
And it looks like he's lacking lift too in these last few games. Like, it's like he's just not getting the balls, just not getting there, or he's not getting there because he has like a Charles Oakley 2-inch vertical.
Yeah. And it's not like it's a minutes thing. Like last season, we were worried, he's playing a lot of minutes. He's averaging 32.5 minutes per game this season, where last year he was at 36.4. So he's playing 4 less minutes per game, so he should be fresher. So that shouldn't be an excuse either. So it could be someone posted something, I forget, they tweeted it out, and maybe we shared it, Quis, you and I, where someone said, hey, does anyone remember that time when RJ was being featured in the 4th quarter and he was cooking and Julius was frowning,
sulking.
And they said, and I never went back to check it for sure if that was it, but then they said, I feel like ever since that moment, RJ hasn't been the same. So I don't know how much.
I thought he was tougher than that. I thought he had a much tougher attitude to let that roll off his back, man.
Yeah. I thought they were pretty good friends too. Don't they say they traveled to games together?
Yep. But then doesn't that make it kind of harder to swallow? Like if your buddy, right, who's your buddy, is pouting when you're like, when you're cooking, isn't that kind of turn you off a little bit? And maybe then you don't want to offend him because he's the main guy. So then you want to regress. I mean, not regress, but you want to kind of like, take a step back to let him shine a little. It's like this weird balance. There's too many elements that have to be juggled all at the same time with this particular first unit, the way it's constructed. And no one's thriving.
RJ's our 3rd overall pick. He should be the one that should be in the forefront. And if he plays the way he should be playing as a 3rd overall pick and excelling, he's going to be the highest paid player on this team. So he needs to, if that's the case, he needs to step back and realize, hey, the team, this franchise invested in me with that pick. They paid Julius Randle and the type of money you would pay a supporting character, a second leading scorer, basically. So I think it's the way we're set up, we're primed for RJ Barrett to kind of take that step to become one of the elite players in this league. And that's what I would hope for him to do. So I don't like the fact that I would think that he would look at Julius Randle kind of pouting because he's balling and say, okay, let me kind of calm my game down a little bit. If anything, RJ Barrett to say, listen here, buddy, you better fix your face because I'm not about to turn my game down just to appease you. We're trying to win games. We're not trying to make one or the other look better. I don't care if you look bad and we win or I look bad and we win, as long as we can get in W's. So if me going out there and dropping 25 points per game and balling the way I'm balling is doing that, you're going to have to get with it. That's how, if I was RJ Barrett, I'm not about to pay attention to what Julius Randle's doing if what I'm doing is leading to success.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should be worrying about just being the best you can be.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you know what? Hey, it may come to something like that. Like RJ and Randall may have to like go off together to the side and just kind of just hash it out, work it out, all in in good love and like camaraderie and team, as like
going to broken.
But you know what, fellas? You know what, fellas? If we had a CP3, they wouldn't have to think about that because he'd do it for him.
That's true.
He put them in their spots. He'd do everything, so there wouldn't be any of this if we had a real point guard on this team.
See, but Foxy, we talked about this yesterday. The thing is, we weren't in the same position as the Suns. The Suns, they brought in Ayton, they brought in Bridges, they hit on their
They have a superstar with Booker who doesn't want to play with a superstar.
Yeah, they nailed their draft picks. Meanwhile, we went and drafted Knox. We drafted Frank. If we would have
instead of Bridges.
Did you see him on defense? Oh God, is he a beautiful defensive player, Bridges?
Mm-hmm. If we would have made those draft picks, we would have been in position to go and get a CP3, and maybe we would have been in the same position the Suns are right now.
CP3 would have picked the Knicks instead of the Suns. Mm-hmm. If we had Donovan Mitchell instead of Frank, and
Mikal Bridges
instead of Knox, think about
we probably still have Randall.
Or Shea instead of Knox. We wouldn't need him.
Shea, we probably wouldn't really need CP3. I mean, if you can have Shea off ball, I guess.
Well, Shea had CP3.
That's true.
Yeah, come full circle.
Yeah, that's so that actually increases the intensity on RJ even more so because he's that first draft pick that now, okay, we kind of got this one right. By default, it's like the third pick, and we'll really is
re-sign a draft pick.
Yeah,
that's what we're hoping.
And then Obi's looking nice. I love Obi's game. We'll get to talk about Obi. We'll get to talk about IQ. But those other two draft picks, not missing on Knox and Frank. That's what put us in the timeline that we're in. So that's for sure. Let's start previewing the game tonight. Let's share some stats here. Got some fancy new slides. Let's see.
Debuting something? Drum roll, please.
There we go. There we go. All right. So we looked at this before. So it looks like Nerlens it will be a game time decision, is what I saw a tweet come out. No, they are. It says, now Fred Katz. Okay, and Berman, they texted out Noel is out tonight. All right, so he's out. So we're down to Mitch and Sims. Okay.
Or small ball.
Yeah, and small ball. And small ball. Atlanta is, look at it, they're averaging 111.4 points per game. We're only averaging 106.7, so that's a big disparity. 4.7 points. Eeks, that's going to be a lot for them to make up, especially in Atlanta. However, Randall shoots much better on the road than he does at the Garden. I'll tell you guys the splits in a little bit. Assists, Atlanta, 24 assists per game. We're at 21.5. Steals, about even. Blocks, we have more blocks, 6.1. They have 4.2. Turnovers, of course, we commit more turnovers, 13.2, which is not that's not an atrocious number. But Atlanta only gives it up 11.8 times per game. That's pretty
Every
nice.
time we do this, George, that number goes further up. Last time it was 13 even.
Yeah.
I think before that it was 12 and some change, Yep.
Totally. Totally.
Well, if we learn how to inbound the ball, maybe we won't go up so much.
Mind-boggling.
Two
But how many
plays like
times
that
this
last
season,
night.
fellas, with inbounds?
Out of
But even
a
last night,
timeout.
after a timeout.
But how many like no easy plays for them after timeouts? So what the hell did we do a timeout for? We just gave up easy baskets.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
That's
the
gotta,
timeout.
Where the hell are the adjustments? Are you kidding me?
Bibbs out. It's got to freak Bibbs out.
Like, where's
the
the
3-point shooting?
Go ahead, George.
Oh, no,
I was just gonna say, where's the heart? Like, how are you gonna come out of a timeout and allow a team to just have their way with you, and you literally call timeout so you can get your stuff together?
But where's the guy on the court getting everybody's face like, this bullshit, fellas? We can't, this is about us, man. I don't want to.
Who's gonna do it, Foxy?
I know.
Between Julius Randle and RJ Barrett, the two guys we gotta rely on the most.
No, you hear me bringing up Oakley and stuff like that. I'm from a generation. If you didn't do what you're supposed to be doing on that team, somebody was in your face telling that. Yeah, you don't have to hear it from the coach.
I wish I was there. I'd have told it to him.
Right. Word, me too. It's like, this is crazy, man.
Yeah, and the thing is, you would have thought, okay, you bring in a Kemba, maybe he can provide that kind of vocal leadership, but
he can't because he's not doing anything on defense. What am I gonna, you have to lead by example, man. And God.
Well, that goes to this. Well, let me finish this part here. The points in the paint, Atlanta's, averaging 47 per game. We're at 42.3. Second chance points were actually ahead of Atlanta, 14, and they had the 12.2. Fast break points, 11.3. We actually have more fast break points than the Hawks right now. We're averaging so far, but the Hawks are probably missing less. Which is why there's less second chance points for them. They're hitting 47% of their field goal percentage, 37.6% from behind the arc, and they're hitting 80% of their free throws as a team.
Yeah,
nice, well balanced team. And just to make matters even worse for us Knicks tonight, the Atlanta Hawks are technically the second hottest team in the NBA. So we, in a back-to-back, we went against the 14 in a row, and I believe the Hawks are 8 in a row.
Yeah.
Hottest in the West and hottest in the East.
Yep,
yeah.
Exactly.
And the thing that scares me after yesterday and after our last playoff series against Atlanta, we got killed on the pick and roll. We got killed on the pick and roll last night. And folks, Clint Capella had a monster game against Memphis last night. He's leading the league in offensive rebounding. Wow.
I'm the defense is a concern, but it's an old narrative. It's an old narrative now. In the past 10 games, in fact, I tweeted this out. The Knicks are, first of all, the Knicks are they're down to 100. Actually, let me see if I can pull up that tweet.
I was going to say, what that graph is missing? Because we crossed the threshold yesterday. We're 18th in points at 106.7, folks, but we're 19th in points allowed at 107. So we're giving up more points, 107 points, than we're scoring.
Yes,
that's that's when the alarms should go off. We're a quarter of the mark way into the season, folks. The freaking alarm bell should be going off.
But last season we were only allowing 103.8 points per game in the first 19, but only scoring 101.5. So the differential was much wider last season than it is this season, and we have a better record this season. We're 10-9. Last season we were 8-11. The point of that tweet was like, the sky is not falling. It's just we're not thriving the way we had hoped. We're not picking up where we were in the last part, like the second half of last season, and carried into this season. We've kind of like taken a step back, but we're not as far back as we were at the beginning of last season. That's the thing. We're also, in the last 9 games, opponents are only averaging 102.9 points per game. We should have won all 9 of those games, technically, if our offense was cooking. The problem is the offense on this team now. Not so much. The defense, of course, is an issue. And I do believe that, like we talked about this, the defensive inadequacies of Kemba Walker and to a lesser degree and Fournier, are impacting them on the offensive end. That's the real problem, which comes to the main thing that I hit upon last night in the post game, which was this team is misaligned right now. The people who are starting shouldn't necessarily be starting, and the people coming off the bench probably should be starting, because benches don't win you games. Starters win games. So having guys like Rose, IQ, and Obi coming off the bench and only giving us, whatever it is, 15 to 20 something minutes
Burks.
per game, and Burks also, it's just not enough. We're not having our best players playing the majority of the minutes, and then we're behind, and there's a lot of mental issues happening in the first half, and then that leads to people giving up, the team giving up leads, and then having to crawl back into games. But it's really the offense is the problem in this particular situation, and that sucks, because that's what the two signings were supposed to address, right?
Mm-hmm. Especially with the step back we took defensively.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But tonight should be fun, though, because we're not going to have Derrick Rose and Kemba Walker. Those are two players you could say arguably are one of the on the minus defenders, if you want to put it like that. Now we have the opportunity. Grimes, we should expect to see him play. He was taking some of Derrick Rose's minutes. He got entered into the rotation with Derrick Rose out. And now with Kemba being out as well, maybe we see McBride get a little bit more minutes. And then that way,
please.
Our defense takes a step up, and maybe, we elevate IQ into the starting lineup. Maybe that helps things with the starters. And now with the second unit, you have McBride and Grimes starting to get into the flow with things. So now if Tibbs needs to make an adjustment, at least he can see what these young guys are doing out there on the court. Because I think that would be ideal. Trying to get more minutes from McBride. I think McBride, my biggest hesitation is, will he be able to run an offense as the point guard? I think I like what I saw from him last night. I would like to see a little bit more. This would be a nice challenge for him to come in. I'm not saying he has to play, 25 minutes, but at least get him into the flow of the game, and let's see what he can do, what he can provide this team. And then the same thing with Grimes, get him out there with the second unit, have him ball out, play solid defense. And I think they'll be able to match up nicely with some of the perimeter players on the Hawks, and I want to see RJ step up as well defensively. I think we see those three things. This team is not going to have an issue or as big of an issue going up against the Atlanta Hawks, because I think those three players, if they step up defensively, it's going to really try to stop what the Hawks are going to try to do to us on offense, which is the pick and roll. And, I know Noel's him being out is going to be an issue, but we have Mitch. Mitch was a player that a lot of people were saying they hoped he was available because he could have been a difference maker. Well, now it's time for Mitch to step up. And I've always been saying Mitch has that ability, and, it's time for him to step up in this game. And I think we see some of those things, and the Knicks will be in positions to win late in the game. But like George says, it's all going to come down to whether or not our key players, our key starters are going to step up and knock down shots. And that's going to be Julius Randle, RJ, and at some point, Evan Fournier.
Yeah, we can't shoot 37% and 30% from three. That's a recipe for a loss. So we gotta come back from that. Got to move that ball, and like you said,
got to move the ball. Got to move the ball.
Move the ball, exactly. Get your spacing, and communicate. That's one of the key things we don't see. If you watched the game yesterday, folks, you saw Phoenix talking to each other, the players talking. There's so little talk among our players on both ends of the floor.
Very little talking. Yeah, there's no one. Well, we've talked about this. There's no defensive, middle
quarterback.
Linebacker. Yeah, or quarterback.
That was Bullock last year, and that's we didn't see it last year. Now absence makes the heart grow fonder. All we saw was a one-dimensional offensive game. We said, yeah, he's good on defense. We just didn't realize that he was putting the other guys in the right positions on the right spots. We don't have anybody doing that now, and it's like, so we see a guy like Booker going off. How many open shots did we see from him yesterday? Which is, everybody had to be scratching their head. Like, how do you leave a guy like Booker open like that?
Yeah, I mean, the Suns just moved the ball beautifully. I think
beautiful.
Thibodeau should have just took that whole tape and just say, all right, we're going to copy and paste this offense into this system.
They had 28 assists, the Suns. We had 13.
Yeah, it was beautiful to watch. Beautiful.
They more than doubled us up in assists.
Yeah.
So here's some news. Bogdanovich and Cam Reddish will be available for the game tonight. So they have more people available than originally we thought, and we have less.
Yeah, I was saying a prayer because I thought earlier in the week Trey had an ankle issue, so I was like, maybe you should rest that ankle against us, Trey. But no, he had a big game last night, and he's going to be ready to rock against us tonight.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, I can't say unfortunately. I'd be lying if I sat here and said unfortunately. You know, my
Hey, power to him, man. If he could do it and we can't stop him, then power to him, man. That's what that's what I want on our team. But that's why I keep using the word physical. You know, Oscar Robertson, everybody, you ask the greats, how do you defend guys like this? Got to be physical. You got to pick them up full court. You know, we only have one guy on this team, IQ, that does that. You know, and I think if you gave Deuce some burn, he'd do it too. But the other guys, they're not doing that. You know, I'm really impressed with the development on IQ. You know, that extra strength has made a huge difference defensively. It's made a big difference. And like you said, some of the other things leaving his feet in nowhere land, those things will come to him. But at this point in time, the future's now, folks. We got to start investing and finding out because, you know, Quis and I will talk about this more in depth tomorrow night. But I've been in the lab, folks, going through a lot of stuff, and the roster construction of this team needs a lot. We need to take a step back and have a very serious talk about this roster construction.
All right. Let's see here.
George over there like, oh man, Foxy's out here dropping bombshells.
I have a whole take on that, but it's a whole long thing. I mean,
it's an edited video.
I put out a video about it because it's all about winning the championship and whether you're on the right path. And in that respect, we're 100% on the right path. I mean, you can only do so much with your picks. You can only do so much with your money when people don't want to come to play for you. Lonzo Ball didn't want to come here. Come on, let's just wake up to the facts about that. KD didn't want to come here. Kyrie, so
thank God he didn't want to come here.
I know we lucked out in that respect, but I mean, you can only do what you can do. CP3 did not choose the Knicks. When he could choose the Knicks over the Suns before he went to the Suns, he chose the Suns. And why? Because we swung and missed on 2 draft picks and they didn't. So yes, the roster is not an elite level roster, but they're layering, they're building, and they're trying to get to that place, which is why it's so important that Thibs plays the young guys so that their value increases, so that when it comes time to make big decisions, we're working from a position of strength as opposed to weakness.
Knowledge is power.
Mm-hmm.
Bingo.
It just sucks, though. All the teams are going to tell us to keep our vets like Fournier in them, and they're going to want McBride, Grimes, and everybody not nailed down. All the youngsters that's not nailed down to the franchise.
True. And look, hey, I let's see. I hope that comes. I'd rather have that problem where people want Grimes and Deuce over Fournier. I mean,
hey, I don't think we're too far if he keeps playing like this. Sheesh.
Yeah.
Hey, I feel very strongly at this point, 20 games in, that without any question, Deuce would play a superior game of defense to Kemba, not even close.
Oh yeah.
No,
but I'm also feeling very strongly
at defense than Kemba. Let's be honest.
Honestly,
well, I've seen you play D, and I agree, man. Man, he holds you a little, but he gets away with it.
I'll get my 6 fouls worth, but he's gonna be screaming at me. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But also, so I'm saying to myself, I know Deuce can play better D right now without any question than Kemba. And you know what, folks? I don't think if you gave this kid burn what we're seeing from Kemba, that his offensive game would be that much less.
No, I agree.
So what are we not? Why aren't we taking that experiment? It's like, come on. Hey, we saw yesterday Booker get the ball at the foul line. Kemba did everything he could, but when you're 6 feet, he just went up, elevated, and put the shot in and over him. There was just nothing he could do, and he was playing the best D he could. He just couldn't, and wasn't at the D that RJ was playing him. He's just so diminutive, he's just so tiny. There's just so much you can do, and it comes to a point now that we're saying, hey, man, and in one play, you saw Deuce against CP, that his length, he's a disruptive guy. And he wants it. He's hungry.
Oh, yeah, that one play, I know, that was...
But you can see in his eyes, he's clapping his hands. Yo, get these young kids who are hungry. If these guys, if Tibbs had how many press conferences, as he said, well, the energy wasn't there. Bro, if you as a coach, an old timer, if you have to say that more than a couple times, then you got to make some changes because somebody ain't listening.
What I like about Deuce is if you guys watched last night, it looked like he was playing the type of basketball where you don't know if you'll see the court again, so you're going to make sure you get your shots. There were a couple threes Deuce had where he had Grimes open, kind of looked at him. He said, nah, bro, you in the rotation. I got to get in. Swag.
Yeah, I was like,
Totally.
Deuce,
he tried.
yeah,
I
like,
was all for that. Go for it, Deuce.
Yeah, Deuce, you'll be
garbage minute.
My garbage minute. Let's go.
Yeah.
Oh man, look at well, Capella is a center and stuff, but still, Capella is averaging 2.1 offensive rebounds per game more than Randall.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Randall's an elite defensive rebounder, but he's not an elite offensive rebounder.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes for Mitch. Mitch is an elite offensive rebounder, but he's not an elite defensive rebounder, which is bizarre.
Yeah, their styles are they don't lend themselves to be both, unfortunately, the way they are right now. Let's see. One thing I wanted to bring up. Well, here, you guys want to shout out the chat?
Yeah, I saw before a question where they said where they didn't realize that the Knicks were at the bottom of assists. Just to be precise, we're 25th in the league in assists at 21.5. Yeah. So
which might as well be the bottom.
Might as well be the bottom.
Yeah.
So I mean, and after a few more games like yesterday, we will be there.
I'm so annoyed by that stat.
Me too.
I just don't understand how, with all the talk about ball movement
and camaraderie, that they like each other. So you want to do the best thing. It's not like people are jealous that are going to be keeping each other from getting shine. Nah, man, what is going on with here, man? If you like each other, then you're trying to do the best for the team, not for yourself.
They like each other personally, but they don't like playing with each other. At least that's what it appears out there on the court.
I agree with you, Quis. Yeah, that's what, especially RJ and Randall. That's what it's looking like brutally from the outside.
It's so weird because they kind of, I won't say they kind of gelled last season, but we didn't have these same struggles.
But I think part of the struggle is RJ now looks at himself at the same level. Maybe a year or so, I'm just a kid, but now I ain't a kid, and maybe that's why he's cranky,
And he's playing for a contract. He wants his max. He doesn't want to have to deal with what DeAndre Ayton's dealing with over there with the Suns.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just trying to think, so RJ, I mean, maybe what Thibs should do is for like a 4-minute stretch in the game at some point, just take Randall off the floor and run the offense through RJ. We've seen moments of it here and there,
especially during the 5-20-point games.
Yeah, and that kind of it grew into that. It wasn't like Thibs initiated. It wasn't like Thibs said, "Hey, we're going to run it through RJ and we're going to see what happens." No, RJ just started hitting everything, and then they started feeding him, and especially in that 1/4 quarter game that we were talking about. But I mean, in general, and we've seen little moments here and there of it, but just not enough. It's almost like they don't follow through on anything for RJ specifically.
For any of these players, they're trying so many different things, and certain things work, but they don't stick with them. Yeah, they just move on and try something else.
Yeah. Tom Herrera says here, Randall likes being the quarterback, but his turnovers are costly. Oh, the turnovers.
Not everybody could be a quarterback. Sam Darnold likes being a quarterback too, but you see he's on the bench now because of turnovers.
Yeah, Jones is going to find his way to the bench too. He keeps playing like the way he's playing.
Yeah, man.
That's right, man. D Nice 45 watching. Let's get those likes up. Smash that button. Yes, please hit the like button for us. Really appreciate that.
Hit that subscribe button if you haven't. Hit that all reminder bell so you don't miss out on any of the great content that our guy George is doing. And please share the link on your favorite social media platforms.
Absolutely.
Hey, shout out to the new Knicks. Hey, Phil. Hope all is well, my friend. The Renaissance guy, musician, artist, everything. One of my good guys.
So who do you think? Who? I mean, we've talked about Randall and RJ being the keys, to the game, but they're the keys to every game for the Knicks. So, but tonight specifically, who are you? Who would you like to see step up for tonight? And I want us to win this game. And
RJ,
I think it's a winnable game.
It's an easy answer.
Yeah,
RJ and Randall.
Other than RJ and Randall.
I want Mitch to step up.
Yep, Mitch has to stand.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Meaning everybody's talked about what we, missed in the playoffs last year, and we got killed on that pick and roll. He has a good opportunity to leave a calling card. Yep, if I was here, maybe it would have been a different thing.
Yep.
So
if we have better perimeter defenders, if Tibbs actually puts out McBride and Deuce, and they're on the court with Mitch, we should see exactly how this team would have looked if we decided to deploy Frank last season, and if we had a healthy Mitch and things like that. So that's what I'm looking at. I'm going to see how we're going to defend this team. We are a depleted team. We may lose this game because we just don't have the firepower with guys out. But I want to see how we attack this team, how they attack us, and if we are going to meet them in the playoffs later on, what adjustments can we make to get at them? So I want to see how Mitch looks going up against Clint Capella. I want to see how he looks defending pick and rolls. I want to see whoever starts, whether it be Quick, I would assume it's going to be Quick, how he looks defending Trey. I want to see Tibbs and his rotations. What is he going to decide to do if Trey goes off? Is he going to make a move quick enough to not allow Trey to get into his groove and really get to a point where there's nothing really we can do, because he's already at that point where anything he puts up is going to go down. So those are probably my few things that I'll be looking at. It got to be Mitch when it comes to a player, and it's going to be Tom Thibodeau and his rotations. How is he going to handle this game? Second night of a back-to-back, even though the players didn't play much last night, I want to see what kind of rotations he goes out there and looks. Does he decide to trust in his young players like McBride and Grimes, or is he going to try to play, Burks 27, 30 minutes or something like that? I really think we need to get these young guys into the flow of things and see what they can give us before we hit that point where we're making deals and moving away potential pieces.
Yeah, Trey is an elite player, so he's going to get his. But if RJ and the others can stop the Bogdanoviches, the other guys from going off. So if we could just isolate Trey, letting Trey be Trey, but not letting Herder and the others have crazy games, then I think, and like you said, Mitch, great point, that I think we have a shot then. Hey, we beat him during the regular season last year, folks.
3 times.
Thanks.
The thing, Foxy, though, with Trey being Trey, I think one of the things about Trey being who he is him getting into the paint and finding his teammates out there for open looks. So if we see Trey be Trey, I just think we're going to see players, out there getting good looks. So we would have to either hope they're not knocking down their shots, or hope that this team can at least step out there on the 3-point line and contest or run those shooters off, at least allow them to force them to go into the paint and be challenged by a Mitchell Robinson or Julius Randle.
Yeah, and like we said, whether it's IQ, whether it's Grimes, whether hopefully it's Deuce, let's see these guys get their body, trying to prevent him from getting into the paint, because he will get to the paint against Kemba with his eyes closed. It's not thank God he's not playing, so which is wonderful, but they have
like he's a ghost.
Exactly, but I think they have to show tonight that physicality, and we talked about Deuce is potentially a guy that can great lateral movement that can maybe stop and make a mid-range jumper instead of going to getting that into that lane, and that's a huge difference. And like you say, because once he gets into that lane, it's either him scoring or dumping it off for a lob for Capella. You keep him out from that, then all of a sudden the whole game changes radically.
Totally. That's one thing, though. Even if Trey, let's say he somewhat makes attempt. Let's say we got Deuce guarding him, right? The beauty of Deuce, theoretically, we even saw a little teeny bit of it last night against Booker, is that he has his wingspan is so
6'9".
tremendous,
yeah,
and he's always moving, so he's disrupting the vision of the ball handler. That's something that we don't see enough of from defenders in general.
And he has something that D Rose has, that recovery speed. D Rose makes a lot of things where you think he gets beat, and all of a sudden he blocks his shot, recovering and comes back. The same thing with Deuce. If he got that burn, man, is that
Grimes
ability
as well. Grimes also is a vision disruptor.
And he's physical. He squares up beautifully on defense. some of the guys, their technique is so bad that Tibbs must be killing himself. Like, what? I've been training these guys, and what are they doing in the game? What's happening in practice is not translating to what a real game. And Tibbs is crazy about
this
technique.
This is going to be a fascinating game, guys.
It is.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of things to pull from this game, depending on what Tom Thibodeau does, how these players perform. It's going to be a lot.
Pride. This has a lot to do with pride. It's going to say a lot about our team.
Yeah, there's that, but I was thinking absolutely that, the pride. But I was also thinking more like, okay, let's say everyone was healthy, we'd be seeing the same fucking Knicks being put out there. But tonight we're missing Kemba and Rose.
Yeah, that's what it's a big opportunity.
But you know what? Shit happens for a reason. Maybe this is the inflection point that this had to happen for our young guys to get burned, and for others to say, you know what? They got the energy, they got the defense, and all the other parts of the game will come together. But if you start with the defense and that physicality, you know what? I can work with that.
Yeah, I like that word, inflection point.
Yeah, that's the perfect word to describe. We're at that moment. The thing is, it's all up to Thibs. Is he for example, if Thibs starts Burks, I'm going to spend about 10 minutes screaming.
I didn't even think about that possibility. He really could do some nonsense like that. Wow.
And totally.
Right. And and if he comes out with the whole thing, well, I wanted to keep IQ with the.
There's no difference between IQ and Burks. They both bring the same thing. No, they don't.
Well, he'll be like, I want to keep IQ with OB. I like their two. Yeah, okay, fine. But you know what? We're past that, man. We need to get the first unit right. Now it's your night. This is Thibs' night.
Yeah.
The players are going to give it their all. They're going to, because they're going down to Atlanta, and we have played well in Atlanta historically. We're even 4-4 from the beginning of last season through the playoffs, including the playoffs. We were 3-0 in the regular season and was 4-1 in the playoffs. So we're even 4-4 in terms of wins and losses. We've had success in Atlanta. We have a lot of fans in Atlanta. We should be able to, the players should be able to step up, even though they did play last night, but we have a lot of young guys that didn't, overburden too many guys, except Randall did play 30-something minutes. But they should be ready. But it's about how Thibs uses them that is going to be the key tonight.
Yeah.
I want to see quicker rotations. I don't want to see the first unit out there and it's with only 1 minute and a half left in the first quarter, and we're down 6. No, I don't want to see that. Get fresh legs in all the time. Rotate guys.
Like you said, Golden State does it. Then why can't you do it?
Exactly.
And you said quicker rotations. I want to see quicker rotations in terms of the lineup and rotations in terms of defense out there on the court.
Bingo, bango,
stop allowing all these open threes. I haven't heard that in forever, George. Bingo, bango, bongo.
We haven't had a reason to.
Yeah. And then everybody started using the bing bong now.
Oh, I hate that damn shit. Yeah, those words have never left my mouth. Never seen a tweet. Yeah,
sounds terrible in person.
Yeah, it's
I understand why they might not be able to use the actual MTA sound because maybe there's copyright issues, but don't have somebody go in there and just keep on saying bing bong. It don't really sound all that good.
Yeah, I'll throw you on the track. You say it again.
Right? Bing bong.
Oh, man.
Yeah, hey, you know what? Knicks fans, not Knicks fans, but Knicks players, if you're listening right now, if you win tonight, Atlanta strip clubs are on me tonight, man.
There you go. Foxy will Venmo you guys.
They have, they have some premier gentlemen's clubs.
Get the strippers Venmo code, and send it right to Foxy.
And if we lose it, just call up Lou Williams. He has it.
Get his lemon pepper wings. You feel me? They call him lemon pepper Lou for a reason.
Yeah. Melts in your mouth, not in your hands.
We got Hard Thumb. I disagree, George. The New York Knicks need to get a rhythm by staying in the game together. But if they have a good rhythm, we got to have a good flow. That's a totally different story. But I'm saying if we're if we're getting
if you got two left feet, you got to do something.
Yeah, if we're down 10 points, and it's only 7 minutes into the game, let's rotate some guys in. But yeah, if it's competitive and it's a tight game, definitely ride them as long as you can. Last night, like Fournier last night, he hit those 3 shots, and then he did some heat checks, and they weren't good looks. They weren't in the flow of the offense. And then that's it. He just completely went cold afterwards. So that's the danger too, of when you leave guys too long in. You want it a lot of times, a lot of coaches, it's more so in it actually it's in basketball. It happens a lot where they like to take guys out when they're feeling good. So then they have that sitting in their memory bank when they're sitting on the bench, but they don't let them get ice cold. They put them back in after a few minutes, maybe like after a 4-minute rest, they put him back in to keep that momentum going. But, if you pull the guy after he's missed 3 shots and he lets all that anticipation build and he knows that it's upon him. I mean, this is what's going through Fournier's head. Then he gets back in.
He already knows he doesn't play in the 4th. So,
yeah,
exactly. And then he starts forcing it.
Yeah, because he was 1 for 8 from his 2-point shots last night, man.
I think he was 1 for 12 after the 3 for 3 start, right, George? your recap.
Yes, he's 1 for 12 after the 3 for 3 start. Can you imagine? I mean, that was brutal. So Foxy, get ready to go bankrupt tonight, apparently, because we're gonna win.
Yo, you know what? If you gotta go, you gotta go. And like John Becton III said, Magic City, baby. And then Phil's the new Knicks, Foxy filing for bankruptcy tomorrow. Yo, I'll be looking for my new ex-wife coming up then.
My new ex-wife. All right. Sam L asks, do we think Deuce is going to get a chance to lock trade down tonight?
Please, Lord, I hope so.
Well, that's what we were just talking about.
I think he will.
It'd be lunacy if he didn't. No, yeah. I want to play Burks instead.
Right? Burks 30 minutes. You got to get McBride in. This is the perfect opportunity.
Perfect.
Everything is aligned for McBride to come in and
Grimes
10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, we already know Grimes will get minutes because he's already been in a rotation with Rose out. I think the wild card is going to be what we're going to do with McBride.
Yeah, but I want to see Grimes at the 2. I don't want to see Grimes at the point guard.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to see Grimes at the point. He's not.
He's a 2.
I mean, he can do it. It's nice to have it when you need size. And I mean, in my opinion, the small ball lineup should have a big lead guard at the 1. So he's been using Burks as that person. IQ has enough size because he has that tremendous wingspan, but Grimes, man, and then when you're switching, it works with a guy like him because he can cover 3, even 4 positions sometimes. If you're working against a smaller power forward. So that's one thing, but that's a whole different thing. That's not a whole scheme that you want to go with, in general, but just in moments here and there. I definitely want to see Deuce get burned tonight. That was the reason we drafted him.
Yeah, defense
for this exact moment.
Yeah,
and this might be the thinking here. Not to get ahead of ourselves. It might be like, hey, you know what, Kemba, you played last night. We don't have D Rose, but you know what? This is why we drafted Deuce and Grimes. We're going to go with them tonight. You guys rest up for the Nets game, which is going to be also a huge game. So it looks like, Arthur says, start the Deuce now. Oh, I would love that. That would be huge. But no.
I'd rather start Quick over.
Yeah.
Yeah, Quick's earned it.
Let's see. Teddy White just put in a chat. Alec Burks is starting. Is that confirmed?
Oh, I was looking for it. Oh my God.
No. I don't
That's
know.
a bad omen.
I think he's saying that's his response. I don't know because I haven't gotten the alert.
Yeah, I'm looking for it now. That's what I was trying to type up to see if they release the starting lineups.
Yep.
I don't know why they wait for
Alec Burks at the point for Knicks tonight.
Gosh.
Oh, Tibbs is so annoying. He's so rigid with his vets.
And you know what he's going to say? I wanted to keep him with OB in the second unit. Well, guess what? Start OB.
Keep doing it, Tibbs. We'll have a great draft choice because of you.
You want to do that? All right. Bench Fournier. Start Obi. Oh man,
I don't get it, man.
I don't get it either. I really don't get it.
I mean, I don't think we look that great when we have Burks running point. I think we have
No,
Burks running point out of
exactly.
necessity.
No, you know what happens? That means we get point forward Randall.
Yeah. Heavy dosing of point forward Randall. I wouldn't be shocked if we see a lot of ISO ball to start.
Great. That's what all of us need, especially after seeing a quality team basketball played before our eyes yesterday.
Ugh, I feel sick.
Yeah, it takes
that
the
kind of
air
brought
out.
me all the way down to start the game.
Man.
It's like Burks.
I was on such a high before. Oh,
yeah,
hey,
I was excited to see Quick get a start.
He earned it too, man.
He earned it. He earned it. And little things like that take confidence sometimes has so much to do with a kid's development that, hey, man, I could go to the next level. So, yeah, come on, man.
The only thing I could think of is the fact that when Burks is committed on defense, he can be a dog out there. So if Tibbs is thinking I want to put Burks on Trey to be that dog and get him flustered to start, then maybe I can see where it's coming from. But I still think Quick could have handled that same responsibility.
Yeah, just exactly. Burks is a big guy. He's a great defender for threes. Or don't put him on a one that's lightning. That's not where his thing is. Let him be a defender, on a wing and stuff like that. Let Deuce and Quick take on a point guard. Come on, man.
Let's see if RJ gets the assignment to guard Trey. I want to see what the defense assignment is going to be to start the game.
Yeah. Well, you see around the league, you saw Phoenix put Mikal on Kemba yesterday. Shut him down. Not that it takes much to shut him down.
Here we go, Foxy.
Nah, just let him shoot. By the third quarter, he's going to have to take a nap. So, man.
I am annoyed.
Yeah, that's too rigid, man. It's too rigid.
This is exactly what we were talking about. We were just talking about this, where that's going to be the main the main problem is Thibs. Is he going to take full advantage of the opportunity to look at some different lineups?
All right. You want to go with that, Tibbs? Then play Deuce on the second team's pointing. Put Grimes as your shooting guard. Put Obi as if Burks is playing there. Who knows? Who the hell knows who will put at the three? Maybe I don't know. Maybe he'll give RJ more burn.
Grimes. You'll probably have McBride at the one, Quick at the two, Grimes at the three, and then Obi. I don't know who's going to have a center.
I'd love that. I'd love that. Yeah. That's going to be a much better defensive team right off the bat.
Mm-hmm. That's why I'm not too upset with Kemba, being out, because the team is going to get better defensively. And I think offensively, Kemba's been inconsistent. So if we get 15, 16 points from whoever's replacing Kemba, that'll be like a blessing. Because if you add those 16 points to an upgrade defensively, I think we're in a good spot.
Hey, Quis, you see what George put up? Boy, the duo pulled out a game against the unbelievably great Houston team late.
One of the worst, possibly will be one of the worst teams in the history of the
I know. NBA. Wow, boy, did they pull that one out.
The criteria that you have.
Is that that's why I don't read Mark Berman in the New York Snooze or whatever.
No, I mean, he might.
I mean, you can't even get mad at Berman. That's what Thibodeau
No, it's not
says
a Berman. He's saying he's.
No, I know that. I know.
Yeah.
That's like company line type of stuff. The duo pulled out the game versus Houston.
He was told Thibodeau likes the Burks Fournier as a combo unit. The duo pulled out game versus Houston. I can't even finish reading it without laughing.
Did anybody ask why the team had to pull out a game late versus one of the worst teams in the league? That should have been the first question.
That should have.
Thank you. That's why what I saw is like, is this a joke, man? Is this how far we've dropped that he's proud that we pulled out a game versus Houston? Oh Lord.
Teddy White has a great question here, and we addressed it earlier, but totally worth addressing it again. What's worse right now for the Knicks, our offense or our defense? Well, right now in the past 9 games, the Knicks are only allowing 102.9 points per game. Only allowing that. So the answer is the offense is the problem.
Offense. Agree with you.
That's the biggest.
Yeah, same. Knicks
Quick shout
offense.
out to my friend Paris Duggar. I hope all is well. The Paris, good guy, long time.
Wait, Houston. Wait, when was this? Houston beat Chicago?
Maybe it was an afternoon game today.
Or was it yesterday?
No, I thought the
It must have
Bulls
been a
won
while. It must be
yesterday.
the only
Yeah.
win. Yeah, he must be talking previously.
Oh,
Oh man, wow, what a bummer. Well, let's see. Well, this okay. I mean, the way to combat this is again, if the unit is struggling, then let's bring in the bench in earlier. If you're going to go with this move, starting Burks, fine. But if you're not seeing anything from him or from the unit itself, because it's not necessarily fair to always blame one guy, because they're together on the court. So, but sometimes you switch one guy out and it just elevates the other guy.
Changes everything.
Exactly. So in this case, let's hope that Thibs doesn't stay his stubborn self and continue, live and die by the Burks-Fournier combo. Wow,
George.
yeah, it takes your breath away, man.
I'm really bummed, man.
George, one thing though, I think with Kemba being out, when you experiment, you want to, take one thing out and leave the rest of the same, so that way you can know which variable is the one throwing things off. I think this will be a perfect game for that. We're taking Kemba out of the starting lineup. If we put Burks in there and we see this team excel, then we know, wholehearted that it's Kemba that's the real issue with that starting unit. So if we go out there and look good against the Hawks,
good point.
Then we'll be able to make adjustments.
Fib should cash app you right now.
I was going to say,
give me an internship, bro. You, Rose, one of y'all.
Helen Keller can tell you that Kemba Walker's the problem.
Well, hey, sometimes you just need something to really, confirm it for you. And I think if we go out there and the starters look good to start, then I think that will be all the confirmation you would need. Either that means we should take Kemba out of the starting lineup and move him to the second unit, or maybe find greener pastures for him elsewhere if that's what really needs to be done.
Yeah, let's have a party. Kemba's early retirement.
I ain't gonna go that far. I still gotta go to the old neighborhood.
What? Just show you guys some stats. I wish I had done the graphic for these, but I looked at the first 19 games of Reggie Bullock last season and Elfrid Payton, and compared them to Kemba and Fournier.
Oh, that's sweet. And
so it's interesting because Payton played almost 29 minutes per game in the first 19 minutes in the first 19 games, and Kemba's at 24 and a half. So Kemba's averaging 4.5 minutes less per game. So it's an amount, but it's not like drastic. Points per game, Payton was averaging 12.2 points per game. Walker is at 11.7. So Payton was outscoring Kemba already. The rebounds, 3.8 for Payton to 2.6 for Kemba. The assists are all they're close at 3.8 to 3.1. So almost one assist more per game, but he is playing an additional 4 minutes. So that could be why that's the factor. Field goal attempts. Payton averaged 11.7 field goal attempts last year. Kemba's only averaging 9.8. Now, here's where it gets it. The field goal percentage is almost exactly even. 43% for Payton, 42.9% for Kemba. So almost exactly even. But the three-point shooting,
huge difference.
Huge difference. Kemba's 41.3%. Payton was 26.3%. Now the plus minus, Payton was a minus 1.6. So all, the talk of how, Payton was such a great defender, minus 1.6. But Kemba is a minus 6.8. Yeah. So that is a 5.2 difference That's huge. That's huge.
George, I wouldn't be shocked if Kimba's plus minus right now in those first 19 games are pretty close to Peyton's plus minus during that 9-game win streak we had, because Peyton was brutal during that win streak.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's similar.
That's a good thing. I'm going to look that up. I'm going to look that up for the post game. Now, Bullock only played 15 of the first 19 games. Remember, he was having some issues physically. Minutes per game, 27.6 for Bullock, 28.7 for Fournier, so very close. Points per game, Bullock was averaging 8.3 points per game only. Fournier's at 12.7. So that's a substantial amount more. Rebounds, 4.1 for Reggie, 3.1 for Fournier. Okay. Assists, Fournier is averaging more assists than Bullock. He's averaging 1.8, almost 2 assists, where Reggie was averaging 1.3. So a half assist more per game for Fournier. The field goal attempts, Fournier is averaging 11.3. Bullock was 8.1. So it's a 3.2 difference. Field goal percentage, Reggie Bullock was averaging 38.5% field goal percentage in the first 19 games last season. Fournier is at 40.7. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The 3-point attempts. Reggie was averaging 4.6 3-point attempts. Fournier is averaging 6.5. And 3-point percentage, Bullock was 34.8%. So less than 35% for Bullock, where Fournier is at 38.2%. And Bullock, I guess it still holds true. He's averaging, I think, 3.4 makes per game, which is good enough for, I think he's like third in the NBA in 3-pointers made. So that you're like, okay. So but it comes down to the plus minus. Reggie Bullock was a plus 0.8, where Fournier is a minus 2.7. So together, Fournier, Walker together are a total of a minus 9.5, whereby Bullock and Peyton were a total of a minus 8, minus 0.8. So that's a huge difference in terms of the plus. So the defense in the backcourt has been a major issue, but we can see that now the defense overall as a team has improved in the recent 9 games. So it really all is coming down to the offense and its ball movement. Not enough of it. Not enough touches for everybody. We keep repeating it because it's
true.
It's true. It's true.
But also, we need ball movement with a purpose, because we've seen the starters at some point. I mean, I forgot what game it was. Was it 2 games ago where they started and they were moving the ball, but they really didn't move it with any sense of urgency or try to get an advantage against the defense. It was just passing it because they said the media says we need to move the ball. So they would just, hey, you get it, hold it 2 seconds, and you get it, hold it 2 seconds. With the second unit, at least they're passing the ball, try to get advantages against the defense, and then they're attacking. We're not seeing that with the starters, and that's what's frustrating, because we have players that can attack. We have Fournier, we have RJ, but we're just not seeing enough of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And also our passes, the inaccuracy, they're not getting the ball where they can go up.
I'm glad you brought that up.
They're catching it here and then have to bring it over. Yeah, they've been saying it every game.
Yeah, a lot of it is like, if you're forced to catch like this,
thanks, George,
throws you out of your rhythm. That's totally right.
And it gives a lot more time for them to recover.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that actually hurts guys like Fournier and RJ a lot.
Yeah, and those things don't show up. I saw a play like that. He bent down, the shot was off, and I went, Jesus, man, threw everything off that he had to bend down to get that ball to go up for that 3.
And back to what we were talking about earlier, just not setting good picks. Not running
terrible screens.
Not running a solid pick and roll or pick and pop game. Like, why don't we have at least 4 or 5 times a night? Do we not do a pick and pop with Randall and X player?
Exactly.
Randall never does a pick and pop. Randall just does pick and run.
No, he does the pick. He gets the ball
and then hands in the post.
Yeah,
dribble
back down,
back down.
You forgot the dribble part. There's 13 dribbles.
Yeah,
he dribbled just enough time for the defense to come to him.
Yeah,
exactly. All right, well, we're gonna wrap this up because the game's gonna start pretty soon.
Yeah, solid stream. How long are we on it for?
I got a drink with my name on it.
I was lit.
All right,
Came
Foxy.
from work, hopped over to you guys,
Prediction.
chopped it up.
Prediction is Quis and I will be on at 8:00 tomorrow night. I'm not into predictions. I don't want to come off negative, but
So we're gonna lose.
We're gonna lose.
So we-
So you'll predict we lose, but you won't say how bad.
Yeah. Hey, folks, just meaning, hey, I love my Knicks, but I always talk to you that I look at it from a GM perspective. Hey, what did I say to you the other night off the thing? I said we're going to lose. That's why I didn't want to get into it, and we lost. So I don't want to really stress it, but hey, man, I'm all about trend analysis rather than isolated data points, and the trends show are not looking good for us.
All right. And Quis?
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna win this game either. I'll go with Foxy, but I do think we'll be competitive, and I think that's going to stem from us using McBride and Grimes out there. So if Tibbs goes to those guys and uses them, we're gonna see a team out there that's gonna be able to fight with the Hawks. You have those young guys that they showed a lot of effort last night against the Phoenix Suns, which is a quality team, a team that's just as hot as the Hawks, you could argue. So I'm expecting us to lose. I just don't expect us to lose in the fashion we lost against the Phoenix Suns. So if I was going to give a number, I would say.
What's weird is.
Go ahead, George.
No, we don't lose close games that much. Have you guys noticed that? Like, it's not like it's the game's in question with 3 minutes left, and we just lose. It hasn't really happened
because we give up 20 runs.
Yeah, it's either we're up. Runs. I mean, the first Chicago game, we won at 104, 103, but we won that one. But I mean, in terms of losses, Orlando, 104, 98. I guess that's
close. That's 6.
Yeah, that's kind of. But
Chicago 6.
Lakers were 6.
8, Milwaukee 12.
Bulls were 6.
Bulls was 6. The second Bulls game was 6.
Yeah, if we lose in that ballpark, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
me too. And like you said, I could deal with a loss as long as we have something of the future to see the kids. Like, you know what? We saw Burn. They got to get to know each other a little better. But wow, man, I like the way they played on D and everything. I love their energy. Hey, I could take this loss, but you know what? There's something for us to think about in the future because we saw the kids have Burn.
That's what I was hoping last night.
Me too. But if we don't see that, then it's going to be dismal.
Yeah, we can lose as long as there's points in that game that we can build upon.
Thank you.
All right,
I'm
going to go the other way.
That's our boy.
I'm going
to predict a 20-point win by the Knicks tonight. I predict Julius Randle will score 38 points, and the rest of the team will cascade from there, and we will destroy the Atlanta Hawks.
38 or 30?
38.
George got those moon rocks again, folks.
That's hey, if that comes to fruition, you better screen record this and upload it somewhere.
Absolutely. I just, you know what? It's of course, the most likely scenarios where you guys are talking about, but there's always like teams that are trying to figure their way out. They have those nights where they just like explode upon another team. They just take out all their angst on the opponent. Let's see if the Knicks can do that, because Randall has that in him. We've seen him do that in the past. In fact, his career high is against this team, 44 points. So let's see. That's what I'm hoping. But stop taking the shrooms.
Yo, quick shout out to my brother, Quiet Money. I love you, man.
All right, salute Quiet Money.
All right, man. Hey, Quiet Money, what's up? And Fabian Williams. Hey, thank you everybody for joining us. This has been
great show. Love you.
Game. We've talked about everything under the sun with Knicks. It's awesome. Thank you so much, Quis, for being on, and Foxy for being on. Foxy's first time on Into the Knicks-Verse. It's awesome. We're going to do this more often.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. All right, guys. Thanks so much for stopping by, and let's go Knicks.
You got
Steal
it.
this game.
New York,
I mean, I want to blow up.
Go.
I'm down
go
for
New York. Go New York. Go.
New York.